Thanks for tuning into the channel for this one. So no one's gonna fight me if I say Final Fantasy mainline numbered entries haven't been the best releases for a long while. With FF15 being a train wreck at launch and even now about 7 years later still not being all it was promised to be, there's a bit of a reputation that's been built around the mainline entries. With Final Fantasy XVI releasing this summer, there's a chance for Square Enix to put a new foot forward for the series, but with all that chance of righting their wrongs, there's also a heavy risk of putting the series into the dirt with how many changes they're making to the formula of Final Fantasy. Now, almost every mainline title innovates or changes some aspect of the series that will either evolve the future titles or be cut and not implemented again. Some key examples are that Final Fantasy IV invented the concept of stories in video games, as no game before it had a narrative. 6 invented the idea of the female protagonist. 7 invented capitalism, and we've seen how that's gone. 8 invented amnesia. 9 invented a game just being bad, but that legacy was carried into 10 and 12 as well. I'm sure you all get the idea that the games innovate with each installment. Those past remarks were mostly jokes, but the evolution of the combat system and narrative scale, and the character arcs is what I consider the main thing carried from game to game. Now, before I continue talking about FF16, I'd like to state that with every fiber of my being, I believe this game is going to be something special. Also, while you're here, make sure to like, comment, and sub. It helps get these videos seen by more people, and if you ever stop liking my content, you can just unsub. Now, 16 is carrying what I would consider multiple different failure points. The combat system, the narrative, and the dev team. I'll get more into these as we go. So, Devil May Cry, Gillanetta, Nier Torghalt, all comparisons I've seen people making. I personally have no loyalty to turn-based combat. I was playing Dark Souls and Dishonored long before I got into turn-based RPGs. I've always preferred pitting my motor skills and quick thinking against challenges over long-term strategic thinking. One thing I've always enjoyed about turn-based Final Fantasy games, though, was the ATB gauge. That still enforced a sort of time limit to simple turn-based combat. Another notable moment of fusing those systems was Final Fantasy VIII, with Squall's Limit Break essentially being a QuickTime event. The newer hack-and-slash style combat they've been showing off in all the gameplay trailers seems like a large step beyond even Final Fantasy VII Remix combat, because that at least used an ATB and menu system that was integrated with a real-time combat system, and you're rewarded for being able to weave both systems together for the most efficient combat. Excluding the difficulty altering rings for now, the combat seems purely reliant on your ability to recognize incoming attacks, react to the most efficient reply, and then capitalize with damage dealt, before essentially repeating the cycle. These combat systems tend to harbor a level of mastery that people who don't play those genres seem to overlook. Like hop into DMC5 and go all out, and then look up a video showing you some guy that can hit his 800 triple S combo while donating to a charity one-handed. Anyone in theory can replicate a perfect strategy in a turn-based game, as you can reduce it down to a flowchart of options and replies for every action of the enemy. With real-time action combat, it's the same process, but also then the skill to carry out those options, and then figuring out alternatives if you physically cannot handle what you're doing at the time. Personally, I'm all for this change, but I know the wider community has mixed feelings because older players have grown up with the turn-based systems, and other players maybe just aren't fans of this type of gameplay. I can sympathize with these opinions, but we gave the Gambit system a shot, so the least we can do is show little hope for this new combat system. And if you either just aren't technically skilled enough for some of these elements, or you have some situation or condition that limits or restricts your ability to quickly and reflexively input commands, there are still options. At PAX, they revealed 5 rings that can be equipped that automate certain functions, like attacking, dodging, or healing. Hopefully this increases the accessibility of the title, but I can't give that a fair answer as I'm able-bodied and experienced at the genre. With this though, if the combat isn't well received by the fanbase, it could give us another entry in a row with bad combat, and that's not good for the vital signs of this franchise. Every trailer and showing we've had has presented us with a wealth of story points and other parts of the lore. Dark Fantasy seems to be the name of the game of them heading back towards the series' roots. In my opinion, I think this will be the most easily received part of the game for older fans. Now, the actual quality of the story seems to be really good, but we can't say for sure without experiencing it. If we get a shallow story, bland characters, or lifeless NPCs, we are not in for a good time. The game's concept seems so reliant on the world feeling real that any bad design choices or lapses in judgment could ruin the experience for a lot of people. Clive's revenge arc could feel hollow, or the story's true direction could just be bad. I'm hoping for perfection, so I'm unafraid. Now, with the development team, from what I hear, everything they touch is gold. I'm not very far into FF14, so I can't vouch personally. My only worry is that this is CBU 3's first single-player game, and they may not be swinging 100% off the bat. So, as an overall, I have complete faith in this game, but if it doesn't manage to reach the expectations set out by the awaiting player base, it may not be good for the franchise's longevity, especially if Forspoken being a dumpster fire. So, anyway, comment your favorite Final Fantasy class/job, and I'm gonna head out.